Alrighty then. Time for the next round of this league. We are managed to win the dice roll. And I guess I keep this. It's obviously desperately wanting to draw lands. We have this expensive freighter, which should be okay at some point, but we get to lead with conscripts into Jackal Familiar, which allows us to attack. And if we draw lands, then great. If we draw 1-drops, also not miserable. Looks like presumably some kind of Stompy deck, which is not a bad matchup. It's certainly like a tough one, depending on the draw that they have. It's certainly possible that you can get blown out by Hunger of the Howl pack. But last time I checked, unfortunately, it was bugged on Magic Online, and that it didn't actually work anymore. So no longer are we able to have the situation where your opponent, where the opponent puts Hunger of the Howl pack on a Vault Scourge. So I could have Searing Blaze there. I have a feeling that there's going to be like a pump spell in our opponent's future. So what I want, otherwise why would they keep this hand? So what I'm thinking is that we play Jackal Familiar, we attack, and then if they try to ambush one of our creatures, we can see... No, we can't save them because this is a Chain Lightning. Not a Lightning Bolt, the arts. I should have put more distinct and different arts. So I guess I'm just gonna look pretty embarrassed now. So yeah, there's probably like a groundswell here or a mutagenic growth or something. Can't respond to it, but at least it got a card out of their hand. So yeah, that's not ideal. I still don't really want to Chain Lightning the Young Wolf, just to make it a bit bigger. It doesn't block very well currently. They attacked. Well, I'm certainly not blocking that one. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Chain Lightning on this Pit Skulk. If they save it with Vines or similar, I will Searing Blaze it. Which I think works out fairly well for me. I mean, it's a 2-for-2, but they take some damage. I still don't get to attack, obviously, but I guess it's not too bad. Then next turn we can... we could have also played Freighter there. It's probably actually could have been better. So here's the deal here with the Sheenin. If they if I think they're gonna try and massacre my team with the Sheenin of Life's Roar, I can just crew the Freighter with every creature. So this is the Renegade Freighter is also incidentally something you can do to avoid your Valley Dashers committing suicide. So I'm not gonna crew yet. No, okay. But obviously, if they had a pump spell, then the Freighter blocks it, but it means I wouldn't get 2 for 1. So what I don't want to happen is attack in with a bunch of things and then this gets pumped, because then they get to eat one of my creatures and then gain some life. So so now that I actually have Lightning Bolt and not Chain Lightning, I'm gonna just play conscripts first and crew the train with the conscripts and then attack with everything. And then see what happens. I have Lightning Bolt up, which should be good. And I mean, they've only got 2 cards. If they've got like Pump Spell plus Vines or something, like let's say they pump the Vault Scourge to ambush one of my 2/2s, and then I try and kill it, then they have another Pump Spell, that's pretty bad for me, and it's certainly conceivable that's what they have. Alright, so at the moment, I'm just gonna pass priority and see what they do. Alright. So they're on 4, which is a fine number. And I didn't even have to worry about Hunger of the Howlpack. Plus Vines, because that would have been fairly good, although I still think the train would be running them over. This probably means more Skargan Pit Skulks if they're attacking, with just that. So here I get to kick Bushwhacker, so my conscripts can attack. I can't crew the train to give it the extra power, but the Bushwhacker gives itself extra power to then crew the train. Bash. Alright, so I'll just pass priority, see what happens. Vines of the Vastwood. Well, I sort of have to try and kill it. If they have another Vines, then they got me. But then it's not really getting me because then this would become a 5/5 and trade with the train. So they would gain 1 life, but they would be down 2 Vines of Vault Scourge, and I would be just down a train and a bolt. So in this matchup, I think Flame Slash is pretty good. It kills their like larger than mine creatures when they have pump spells. Fire Blast not really good if we're getting into a situation where they gain life, like people board in Nourishes and Tangles and that sort of thing all the time. Electrickery is one of those tricky ones where it's good in specific scenarios, but not always. However, like Valley Dashers are a bit of a liability against them for sure. So I can like bring those out, put in some Electrickeries, because they do help on like turn 1. Like you can, kill Quirion Rangers, and just like it's occasionally useful, but like not like a full burn spell. And I think I probably just want a life staff. Like we do sometimes get into races, so making my creatures like actual threats seems like a good idea. But they're not like while they act like a burn deck sometimes, they're not really a burn deck. This hand is obviously fine. It doesn't have a removal spell for Vault Scourge, which is pretty bad for us. So if their hand is just like Rancor and then keep up Vines for the rest of the game to protect it, then we're in trouble. But we can sort of outrace that, honestly. If their hand is just like 2 Groundswells here, then sure, they would gain a lot of life, but then they wouldn't have a lot of backup. I'm gonna just like start attacking. I'll be happy to trade Cohort for Pit Skulk or a Pump Spell, since we've got plenty of creatures in this particular scenario. And I don't think it really matters which of the 3rd cohort or familiar we play here, since we can always like cohort plus Bushwhacker. Alright, my opponent went big there. They gained a lot of life, but they're down to 2 cards, and we're not particularly close to dying, so I still think this is a-okay from our perspective. I say we can deal damage in huge chunks, so I'm still fairly happy about how this game is currently progressing. Like the groundswells and stuff. I mean, obviously this card is good, but the groundswell on Vault Scourge is not particularly threatening. It's the permanent pump on Vault Scourge that really does you in. As I was just saying, they obviously just drew that one. Otherwise, we would have been rancored a lot more. Well, we still haven't drawn a burn spell, which is pretty unfortunate for us. So all we can do is just play our creatures and attack. They're obviously attacking us for 5. I mean, we could like leave a blocker back, but I think if we play out this way, if we draw something like another Bushwhacker or something, might actually kill our opponent. Okay, the epic confrontation there is pretty good, and they had another Vines. So yeah, if we'd drawn a burn spell that game, we would have been in great shape, but we didn't. So it's possible that Electricity is good enough just for killing Vault Scourges on site. I'm willing to believe that's the case. I think maybe Inverflame Acolyte can take a hike, and then we can put this in. But you'll notice, like, the Sylvac Lifestaff wouldn't have made that much of a difference this game because, like, none of our creatures actually died. But it would make us blocking a lot more appealing. Okay, I'm on board with this. I think the Electricities can be bad, but hopefully they won't be. Bushwhackers aren't super either, but then again, their opponent in this matchup can't really kill too many of our creatures. I mean, they only have, well, they just mulligan to 4. But they can't have too many removal spells, so we end up having a huge board, and Bushwhacker's obviously good in that sort of scenario. The opponent didn't play a land, which is pretty unfortunate for them. And again, didn't play a land, and our draw is reasonable. And they just, didn't do anything. Okay, that's fair enough. I'll see you for the last round, I think.